when did you start Wide Awake? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I'm American, somewhat transplanted to Canada, although we still have our home in the U.S., and I travel so much, I kind of think I'm everywhere, you know. But I was recruited by investors in Canada, and they wanted to start a new breed company. I had been doing a lot of public speaking about how to create entertainment companies that mirror the good parts of the majors without taking the bad parts. So the cross-collateralization of divisions, you know, if you were building a production facility, make sure it can accommodate your own projects, make sure it can generate content that can tap into your technology division, make sure that, you know, you can do different things with it. If you're building a film project, make sure it has a music component, so as you're building business in the film division, you can have an ancillary set of businesses that relate to the release of the music that ties into the films and stuff. And in the course of doing all this, you create a model where you don't leave any money on the table, and you can actually expand your thinking on what you can do creatively. And so those guys wanted me to do that, and then they were very patient about letting me build the relationships worldwide. They sent me all over the world, from Hong Kong, Japan, to Europe, all over the United States, all over Canada, and let me really think it through. This is very unusual to have such a trusting group of investors in this financial climate. And then we looked up and decided we needed to buy an asset to help fuel this, because you know, this generates income and gives bankability to it, and that's the business side. And that's, I think, the other attraction for these investors is that I tend to be right and left brain oriented, so I can speak to a banker, I can speak to an artist, I can speak to a producer, I can speak to Friday TV. Hopefully, I'm doing okay. Am I doing okay?
Great job.
Okay, and you know, so that was where we bought Death Row, and 2009 is our breakout year. It's also Sean Jones's breakout year. It's Death Row's breakout year. It's all the artists' breakout year. It's the production facility will be done this summer. The book will be going through, and just, I mean, we've got about 20 projects on the books. It's pretty exhausting.
It sounds pretty busy. Yeah, it answered it well. Why Death Row? Why did you want to acquire?
Well, you know, it's a tricky thing because, as you may or may not know, an entertainment asset, particularly in the music industry, has two main components: the master recordings and the underlying compositions, which is the publishing. With the exception of the Tupac Shakur catalog, Death Row owns all its publishing and masters. So even passively while in bankruptcy, it's generating millions of dollars just in North America. That's without aggressive activity in digital. It's without aggressive activity placing those masters for synchronization in film, TV, video games, and advertising, and so on. And when you buy an asset out of bankruptcy, it comes debt-free. It's about as clean as can be. Now, that being said, it's still a difficult asset, and there's a reason why it's taken a while for someone to buy it, is that the books and records are a mess. And so there's a fair amount of heavy lifting going on right now to match up the content with the scope of rights documents, and we're in the middle of that.
How did you both come in contact with each other? You look pretty bored. I think it's your turn to do some talking.
No, he's just always like this. It's like, if I didn't know John better, I would be like, are you mad at me? Are you mad at me? You know, my husband's like this too. It makes me crazy. So every now and then I'll just go, John, smile.
I'm always thinking.
Yeah.
When she's talking about something, actually, I think about ideas.
But what it is like if he watches, like if he was not happy, I would know. So as long as he doesn't tell me he's unhappy, then that means he's happy by default. This is what happy looks like for John Payne.
Okay.
And we actually finally met as we were working through. He's been working on the cataloging of the Death Row catalog for the trustees, so we met through that process, and it was like we'd known each other forever. So the fact that we're now in business together is perfect. He's really smart, so it's good.
Yeah, well, he was original.
Yeah.
From the original Death Row. So tell me.
Been around this business a long time. Before Death Row, I was with Solar Records. We were the ones that put out Shalimar, Lakeside, Babyface, The Whispers, Midnight Star, CEO. I did Bobby Brown, Paulette O'Toole. Most of the stuff was on the radio hardly in the 80s, somehow passed through my ears. So I was working with that. But I've done country western, I've done rock.
World music.
Yes.
And he's working hard with Maurice Jones Jr., who's been Sean's producer. Now John and Maurice are working hard with Sean and the band and all of us to bring Sean to this new level. Not to be confused with Sean Jones, the jazz trumpeter out of Pittsburgh. Thumbs up to Sean the trumpeter, but that's not who this guy is. This is Sean Jones, the solo for rock singer-songwriter guy.
For all you Canadians that don't know, he was in that group In Essence.
Yeah, he was smooth. He has moved on from that. He really was very grateful for the opportunity to work with In Essence. It was an amazing opportunity. He has no negativity about it. But in his head, he kept hearing things that had guitar and a full rock band. And, you know, we're going to give you a little USB stick that has this amazing live piece, which you should throw in there with it. This is a guy who was on, he was on tour with Divine Brown for the majority, for all of her Canadian tour, and he's going to continue touring with her. And nobody knew when they were coming that he was her support. And like, for example, in Montreal, he sold, there were 412 paid. They all were in Le Cabaret in Montreal, where they had to leave the theater, go back out in the lobby, and 91 of those 412 people stood in line, bought his CD, got his autograph, got their picture taken with him, and then went back in to see the Divine show. And that was typical of the entire tour. And it's true, John was there.
It's very true.
Wow.